Lama.
Der Lazy Lama Podcast. Musik und Gelaber ohne Drama.
Welcome everybody to the Lazy Lama Podcast. Today I'm sitting together with my good friend Kevin Johnston.
Kevin
I never use your last name. It's so weird.
Well, you're
to me.
German, so you're compelled to say Johnston
Johnston
or Johnston. That's also good. Johnston.
Johnston. No,
This
it's this
compressed
sounds. Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
No, but
it's
better-
Johnston.
Johnston, yes,
Richtig.
but better known as the Bright Silence to
Perhaps.
me also.
Perhaps.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us in your little flat.
I've decided I'm going to film and record every personal conversation that I have at home now.
Yeah. It's
Just,
more natural like
you
this,
know.
right? Like having different cameras all over the room.
It's
and
true.
Having big microphones in your face.
That's right.
It's so natural. I'm getting used to it. I'm doing this for like 3 years now. And
Yeah.
it works. At some point it works and you learn to ignore everything else around you, like even the camera
Right.
guy and everything, because
Right.
he's doing his stuff, we're doing our stuff.
I feel ignored as well.
Yeah.
I also feel ignored.
Don't be.
This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. I want to talk to you about basically two major topics, which are like separated by the living circumstances you have, because like you are born in Colorado
Born in Colorado, USA.
many years
Correct.
ago.
Many years ago.
We don't want to get in specifics, but you established your Bright Silence persona 2010.
Yeah, that's right.
How did that start?
Well, I'm from Colorado, as you know. I went to college in Indiana, the University of Evansville. And a friend of mine, I was an actor in college, and that's what I got my degree in. And I've been acting my whole life and kind of realized I didn't want to audition anymore and do that world. But I did feel like music always was with me, and I couldn't sort of let that go. So a friend of mine who was in acting school at Evansville with me too also was like, yeah, I don't really want to be an actor anymore, but we had started to play music together. So we decided to, fuck it all and like be in a rock band. So
Like be
we
rebellious.
decided to be in a rock band. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
His girlfriend, who's now his wife and baby mama, got into a graduate school for theater in Denver, which is the capital of Colorado for our German audiences. And they know that. Sie wissen ja alles.
Maybe.
Die wissen ja alles mit Geografie und so. So we moved to Denver, started this band where the three of us wrote together. And then, interestingly enough, when his partner then graduated and moved to New York City to pursue an acting career, he was like, well, I want to move with her. And we had a lot of friends from school who are also pursuing acting careers, stage acting careers, theater. And New York is kind of the city for that. So he moved to New York and I moved with him. And we tried to keep that band going for a while, but our third guy wasn't with us anymore. And it was more and more often that I was doing more active individual frontman music, like writing my own songs more, playing more solo shows. And we had kind of a sad breakup from that old band, which was called Adios Esposito.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of sad, of course. But I then lived with that guy who was one of my absolute best friends for years after that.
Okay, cool.
It was all good.
Sounded like
so-
a little drama's going on.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, sure, but we're very good friends, and it truly is all good. Hi, Eli. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Scott. Hi, Max. Hi, everybody. So I was playing this music. I started to write more of my own songs, and was living in Brooklyn in Park Slope, and was going as Kevin Johnston and playing open mics and became a part of that culture really heavily. I was very fortunate to work at a little place called Bar 4, which of course doesn't exist anymore, which was a little dive bar in Park Slope on 7th Avenue and 14th Street. And it blossomed into this wonderful music scene where many of the people who are in that open mic world now make a fine living, touring and playing all kinds of music professionally all over the world. And so it was a great hub. And I started working there. My bartending friend, an amazing guitar player named Greg Toohey, who's a jazz rock dude. He plays with the pianist Aaron Parks. He's played with a ton of people. He was in this band called Lowry. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Alex Lowry, who has also toured Germany many times. And they had a residency at this place called Spike Hill. With all the place names, they're coming back to me. And he said, "Hey man, it's time for you to have a band.
Yeah.
Like you've been playing this solo stuff
way too long
in the open mic scene at Bar 4. You have to get a band together because in 6 weeks you're opening for us at this residency that we have."
Oh, so this was
So
your
get your shit
motivation.
together.
Real speaking.
Yes. Greg Toohey. He was basically the guy who sort of forced me to put this, or gave me the initiative to put a new band together.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want it to be Kevin Johnston Band, etc. So much of it has to do with Bar 4, with this place in Brooklyn. One of the songs that I play, which I performed last night at a show here in Leipzig, which you saw, has this dramatic moment where I sing the words, "It's too dark to see. These things about my life are too dark to see." And the guy running sound would turn the lights way down during this moment. And it was kind of a joke. Like he was kind of making it hard for me, But then during the sort of climax of the song, I sing "Shed Some Light on Me," and he would bring the lights way, way up. And it's a very loud moment. And then suddenly very, 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 very quiet and dramatic. And there's literally this moment of bright silence in this song.
And somebody mentioned that to you,
and
right?
A friend of mine, another Greg Thomas, also a great songwriter and friend, he said, yeah, because I had been looking for a band name forever, And at the time, after we had started playing those shows that I mentioned, these as a band, as sort of Kevin Johnston Band, which I was always like, I assumed people thought it was going to sound like Dave Matthews, and I didn't want that. No offense to the great Dave Matthews, but there's this connotation with first name, last name, songwriter, and band.
Yeah, it's always
somehow.
like this tone down on the other guys who play with me, who have like the privilege to play with me. It sounds a little bit... A little bit weird sometimes, yeah.
And
always
I think
depends.
It's also, for me, it invokes a kind of a style.
Okay.
And I always thought, well, my style is different. It's not, I don't know. So it's just what I wanted to do as an artist, is have the name. And so I had been looking up every idea that had come to me over like a year on the internet to see if it existed already. And they all did, except for Bright Silence. That was nothing on the internet yet. I couldn't believe it. These two very simple words. So that's the story.
That's the story how you became the Bright Silence.
And ironically, now I play mostly solo shows again. But I still use the name.
Well, that's how I got to know you, because you were playing at the same bar like when we were yesterday.
Yes.
Like in this little thing right around the corner where I live. And it's beautiful because I was, just to get the connection here, I was with some friends, wasted, drunk on the streets, and I heard the sound of a guy playing guitar, and I was like, who the fuck is that? That sounds amazing. I need to know who this guy is who plays. And stumbled into the bar, and I was like, yeah, he was playing, and I was like, okay, I need him to finish because I want to talk to him. That's basically how we met.
That was a cool night. It was one of those shows where the door to the venue is open, and there are enough people passing by that you can actually hook them a little bit. If people who like what they hear would come in.
Exactly.
And that was one of those nights. That was my first time playing at venue is called Die Gute Quelle.
Yeah.
Die Gute Quelle in Lindenau, Leipzig.
In der Georg-Schwarz-Straße.
Auf der Georg-Schwarz-Straße.
And yeah, but now that I know you a little bit more and what I read up about you, it's really interesting that you had the really
read up
wild
about me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, das ist süß.
Because like your time in New York City was really packed with events and people and stuff. Like, for example, how's Jimmy Kimmel?
Oh,
Because you
We
played
haven't-
on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
we haven't spoken since back then.
Now is the time to break
Yeah.
the NDA, you know?
It's interesting because I feel like all of there's always been a peripheral thing with, if I can use the word successes or things that sound cool when you talk about them, have always had a parallel thing happening. Like, I wouldn't say that based purely on my own merit, hard work, and panache as a musician has brought me to great things. It's always been, there's some extra level.
Circumstances.
Yeah, like the Jimmy Kimmel story is, as I told you, I'm an actor. I was an actor. I guess I still am. I'm acting now.
In some regards, yeah.
This is not my real face. Yeah, I went to school with theater people. I was one of them, and a friend of mine named Kelly Giddish, who ended up being on Law and Order SVU for a long time as, I don't remember her character's name. Sorry, Kelly. She was cast in, was also living in New York, in Brooklyn at the time, got cast in one of the first ever internet TV shows, like exclusively shot for internet. They were 10-minute episodes. It was a TV show called The Burg about Williamsburg, Brooklyn, which at the time was a very rapidly gentrifying, hip neighborhood. And the hipsters who were living there made fun of themselves a lot. And this show was designed to sort of parody that phenomenon of like Friends, but Brooklyn in 2010.
Okay.
Kind of. And they ended every episode, which was a cool tie-in because people were still trying to figure out how the internet content was going to work, like this attachment between something you watch and observe as entertainment that also connects to the real world and you interact with it somehow. People were still trying to figure that out. So what the show did was have a real band in Brooklyn play a concert and have the characters attend that concert, and they would film like a scene and a song, and they would end each episode
With
of the
the
TV
song.
show
Okay.
with the friends all are at the show together, and it got to feature the actual band.
Oh, cool.
Which was a really
It's
cool
nice
idea.
way to promoting somebody, yeah.
Yeah, and they decided that was the best thing.
Yeah.
The best part of the whole show were these band sequences. So they made another show that was about a band, sort of like the Monkees or what's the band? There's that German family who are
Kelly family?
yes, sort of like the Kelly family. Yeah. Anyway, instead of the characters being fans of the bands, the characters are the band. And my friend Kelly Giddish said, "Hey, I think you would be perfect for this," because she knew I was a musician too. And she got me the audition and I got the gig. That show was called The All for Naughts. And somehow the director and creator, Tom Woodley and Kathleen Grace, got the show picked up by... it's funny, I'm blanking on his name now. And he's the famous one. Michael Eisner.
Yeah.
Michael Eisner, former CEO of Disney, wanted to figure out how to use the internet, for making money. So
Of course.
So they had this new show called The All for Naughts about a fictional band of real musician actors. And I was the singer of the band. The story of the show was that the band is going on tour across the country with all this drama and hijinks and whatever, thinking they're going to play on the David Letterman show at the end. And the gag is that they've actually booked a show called Letterman, which is a children's spelling show called Letterman and etc. So the hope was that we would actually get to play on the David Letterman show. Michael Eisner apparently had a connection with Jimmy Kimmel and not with David Letterman.
Yeah.
And so It doesn't make any sense, but we got to play on Kimmel, and yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we booked a show at the Knitting Factory in LA, and the company flew us out there. It was a very rock starry feeling.
Yeah.
We thought, and our friends back in New York were watching this on HD Net, which was the first high definition television station in the world, I guess, owned by Mark Cuban. There were a lot of rich people involved in that project, and we thought we were going to be these huge famous TV rock stars. And we're not. It was all for naught.
Hey, it was for the experience, right?
Yeah, I mean,
At least
it's
that.
amazing. Yeah, and it's crazy. The thing we were most happy about that was getting shit from our friends texting us, being like, "You guys suck. We hate you. We love you, and congratulations." That was very cool.
Yeah.
And then also having a little bit of a chat with the house band, Kimmel's house band afterwards.
yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, that was cool, man. Nice job. That felt really awesome."
Yeah. Like
'Cause
the
that's the
appreciation
best
for
of the
those
best.
guys are the biggest compliment you can get, right?
Exactly.
Aw.
Exactly. So that was really cool. We had some family in the house. Yeah,
Nice.
it was wild. It was wild. And then 2 weeks later, we learned that the company was dropping the show and they weren't going to do anything with it. So that was kind of the climax.
Well, but when one door closes, another door opens, right? So what happened after
Yeah.
that? Because you made like, what was the thing about the New York City New Museum gig?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Well, so I had been doing Bright Silence stuff, and then All for Naughts came along too, and that sort of took over. And I thought it was going to be this big opportunity,
yeah.
and it was a great opportunity, no question. I'm still close with a lot of the people involved in that show, and that ended, and the company basically said, "We're not going to produce the show anymore, but if you want to go on being a band, you're welcome to do that. We just own 50% of anything that you might ever earn." So we were like, "Ugh, okay." This was kind of a manufactured band anyway, so we basically broke up. And I started doing my own work, getting this real band together as a real band, not a fictitious band for a TV show.
Yeah.
Of some guys who are great friends of mine now, who made the first version of the Bright Silence, which was a guy named Adam Christgau on drums, who is currently drumming with Tegan and Sarah all over the world. No, they're in the US. A guy named Spencer Zahn on bass, who is releasing all kinds of amazing music. Has played with and collaborated with Kimbra. He's done a lot of amazing things. And a guy named Kirk Schoenherr. Kirk Schoenherr, ein echter deutscher Name. Guitar player who was a big collaborator of mine. We had worked in coffee shops and bars and stuff together, and he really wanted to break out of that because he went to NYU to pursue guitar and had really invested in being a musician professionally. And one of his first opportunities to really break out of that was a friend of his worked in the museum circuit in New York City.
Oh, cool.
And curating at the, I don't remember which one, the Guggenheim or something, and had a friend who worked at the New Museum, which, for those of you who don't know, is a really great progressive modern art museum that does all kinds of really, really weird, really beautiful work. And they offered a gig. They were looking for musicians to play this gig. And he took it, and he was like, "They actually maybe are needing some other people. I can ask and see if they need any other guitar players for this thing." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "Well, it sounds pretty weird. It's a bunch of guitar players, and the job is for 2 months." And we're like, "Okay." And he's like, "And we're playing music in this museum for 2 months at like $12 an hour."
Wow.
And I was like, "Okay." What? And I was like, "But it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Could be interesting. The museum is awesome." And then it came out that it was this Icelandic artist named Ragnar Kjartansson, who does performance art involving repetition and usually involving music.
Okay.
Like, he worked with a band called The National It was a New York band. They filmed like them playing the same song over and over for 7 hours on stage with the full band and everything. He does weird shit like that.
Okay.
And this project that we were involved in was a group of young men sitting around like in t-shirts and underwear with guitars singing the same song in like a polyphonic arrangement together.
Yeah.
So there were like 4 parts split up amongst 12 of us. So like 3 of us would sing the same thing together and play the same thing, but they were playing something different that fit with our piece.
Okay.
And we sang this like 3.5 minute song on repeat for 7
The whole
hours a
day.
day, 6 days a week for 2 months.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds crazy, man.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually talking about this at the Gute Quelle to the owner yesterday. And yeah, it was very weird. So the art piece is Ragnar's mom, the artist who does this installation. His mother was the first real movie star in Iceland. And she was in a film that was the first ever all Iceland produced, shot, written film, major motion picture.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in it where she has a dream. She gets drunk and passes out on the sofa, and she has a dream about the dishwasher repairman coming because she's she's fighting with her husband.
Okay.
And she has this like sex dream that the dishwasher repairman shows up to fix
let me
things
lay some pipes.
and let me lay some pipes. Yeah, and then they get it on and whatever. It turns out that the actor playing the dishwasher repairman and Ragnar's mother actually did get together on set.
Oh, that's sweet.
And actually conceived Ragnar, the artist, during the shooting of that film.
Okay.
So the lyrics in the song that we were singing are the dialogue from that scene translated into English from Icelandic that we're singing on a loop over and over again.
Whoa, that sounds like a real deep working progress for Ragnar to get its whole life.
I think it's like
story
it's
together.
as close as you can get to incest without actually doing anything sexual. It's like it's so deeply. It's very weird.
Yeah.
They have a special relationship.
Yeah,
I think.
Crazy. I just read that because like over 2 months and everything, and I was like, how does that work? Now we know
I still have like I have a bone spur. I don't know what you call it, a cyst or something on my finger from playing this song over and over and over again. The coolest part musically was that Iceland is a tiny place, and the composer of the music is a guy named Kjartan Sveinsson, who was in the band Sigur Rós for many years.
I have his name written right here because I wanted to.
How do you pronounce it?
Kjartan Sveinsson, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Sigur Rós,
nailed it.
What was he was like the famous composer?
I think he wrote most of Johnston is the singer and like the main guy in that band, but as far as I know, Kjartan did much of the composing and writing with that band, which for me was really exciting because I love that band. I love what they did.
Okay, buddy, we have to get on because like it's many interesting stories.
I talk.
But I want actually to know, how was your general life in like New York City and before that in Colorado? Like what was your private life like? What was your go-to thing to do and everything? And how do you got into music anyway? That's my bigger question.
How did I get into music anyway? It's inherited. My mom and dad are both really natural musicians. My grandmothers on both sides sang. My mom's dad was a great choir director. My great-grandfather was a fiddle player. It goes way back. Music's been around forever for me. And when I was very, very young, before I was born, my mom and dad were involved in choir in the city of Greeley, where I'm from, Greeley, Colorado. And a theater group called the Greeley Independence Stampede Troupe, which is basically a community theater that's still going. It's been going for like 50 or 60 years. And instead of getting a babysitter, basically, they brought my older sister and I to rehearsals. So we were around
Music all the time.
and theater really first. I think being on stage and being around the production of a show is like my first social experience.
Crazy.
Probably even before school was just being around people producing a show of some kind, usually with music involved.
Yeah.
My parents sang at home all the time. My mom is an amazing like concert soprano, and so it's always been there.
Yeah. So it was never even a question if you got into music, or do you feel like it was like burden onto you to become a musician yourself?
More that, I guess. More that. I remember, I said I went to school for theater, and those two things were always very much combined for me, theater and music and performing. But I was in my last year of college as an actor, and I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. But being in a rock band, taking the tried and true safest route to stability and success, being a musician, felt great. Felt like a great option. Like it never really went away. There are times when I said, I don't want to be an actor anymore. But the music part, and maybe even just the way that I hear music and enjoy music, that I can't ignore it. Like sometimes when I'm trying to sleep here and there's a neighbor with some music on, it's like I go,
I have to go there.
it's in the key. No, usually I'm like, oh, I know what it is. It's Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. Okay. Or I like hear it. Like I listen.
Yeah.
I can't ignore it. I can't ignore music. Maybe that's part of why I became a musician.
Yeah.
I can't ignore music. That's why I became it.
Music.
I became it.
That sounds beautiful. Like when you just can enjoy it still. Like because I believe some people have like their problems when they're too much into like yourself in the family, where it's all the one topic like theater and music, and when you still can to this day enjoy that and be that and have your life with that, I think that this is a good part. Like could have become otherwise. It could become a handyman or something,
Yeah. Well, I think it's also good to do other stuff with anything. Balance is really important. I just watched a documentary on blue zones. I recommend that.
Oh yeah.
About having a balanced life, and that's what leads to longevity and happiness. But it's interesting. I mean, I do love performing. I love making music. I love art. Trying to do it for a living is a whole other thing.
Yeah, because like this is the business part of that side. But especially like even just saw you yesterday performing, and I love what you do. Is like you make this little jokes between songs, and even now that you live in Germany, you have like this German culture appropriating jokes,
which I
there.
have finally figured out how to be a little bit
tough.
funny in German.
Because still Germans are really tough with
years.
their humor and everything, but you got to the point where everybody can laugh about it, And it's,
How many Germans does it take to change a light bulb?
at least 6.
Only one, and we don't like the humor. German guy told me that, so I can say it.
Yeah, it's totally fine. No, but I want to actually know, how did you come? But why did you come to Germany and to Leipzig? What was the reason to actually moving here from New York?
That's a long story too. So I learned German as a kid. Well, a teenager. In the U.S., in Germany, in Europe, you start learning foreign languages. Like, how old are you?
Yeah, like in 4th class or something.
4th grade.
Yeah.
For us in the U.S., principally, it's when you're a teenager. 10 years later, you know, which is weird. But the German teacher in my school was highly recommended to be by my father, who was my English teacher. He said, she's really great. I would recommend taking German because it should be challenging, and she's awesome, and she is awesome, and I had a great time. So I started the language pretty early, and then did it a little bit in college. And when I lived in New York, I met this awesome woman named Lisa Box, who is also was in the music business a little bit, in some management and stuff, and was also around this same bar, this place Bar 4, I mentioned earlier. And she's bicultural. Her family is German and American. So she's like totally fluent in the language.
Okay.
And we kind of kept that going together. She helped me brush up on my German a little bit when we hung out.
Because you need to speak a language to actually learn it, right?
Yes, you do. And she helped another friend of mine book a European tour by writing emails in German. And that led to this booking agent, a guy named Olaf Beise, visiting New York and observing this open mic scene and making this kind of ingenious little music touring business, which was about 8 of us, singer-songwriters from the Bar 4 scene, mostly, would come over to Germany, and a German drummer and bassist who work with the booking agency learned the music, and then we would go on tour with them as like an American band.
Okay.
You know? Singer-songwriter from New York with
German
band.
backup band, yeah.
And I was very lucky to be one of the people that got that gig. So I've been on tour over here 4 times now. It's been a while, actually. And it was awesome. It was a very fun feeling to be on tour in a foreign country. A totally different way of performing, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, feeling like the exotic rock star a little bit. And then, very long story short, on a tour in 2016, I played a random extra show in Halle an der Saale, which is not very far from us here in Leipzig. It was August. It was hot as balls, and everyone was sweating like crazy, and it was in a tiny little pub but it was full. I will say, my friend Felix Brockballs delivered, and he brought people, which was great. And there was one empty seat right in front of me. It was one of these amazing gigs where the stage is a corner right by the entrance to the bar.
Okay.
So people have to walk past you all the time. And there was one little empty chair, and in it sat a woman named Anna Putschli. And I gave her my business card after the show, and we emailed a little bit, and then a little bit more, and like 2 years went by, and we had been email pen pals, and then talked on the phone, and she came over to visit me in the US, and I came over to visit her here, and we're married. Yeah, we're married. She's my wife, and this is our home. Very long story short.
The whole story. You met your wife at a concert of yours, and just stick to Germany because of that.
Well, what was interesting is that we didn't. It was very non-traditional. It's not like we didn't live in the same country. And in my previous dating experiences, it's so much more about you have this personal connection, then you play this game of like, when do I ask them if they want to go do something with me, and you're around the person a lot more. With us, it was not that way.
Because you're in different countries,
Yeah, so it really became only about this verbal and written communication for a long time, which was a really great way to get to know someone. Very different. And it also built up the excitement for when we would see each other again, which was awesome. That was in Denver, Colorado in 2018. Yeah, and Leipzig because her sister knew some people, and we thought it would be a good choice, and so far it's been okay. It's been a really hard couple of years with the pandemic and everything.
Yeah, sure.
But it's starting to feel good. I'm on the Lazy Llama podcast now, so
it's only one little step to the glory of fame you have.
I'm riding home.
I hope you're feeling at home. But about the Leipzig music scene, because this is always a nice question that I want to ask is, what is your experience with that? Like with the people, with gigs, with the venues here in Leipzig. So what did you experience? What was the good things? What were the bad things?
Well, there's a Biergarten. There's a beer garden, stone's throw away from our balcony, and we heard music coming from there right after we'd moved in. And I was like, I got to go figure out where that is.
Exactly, yeah.
And because this sounds cool and I want to, ich will mitmachen. I want to participate. Yeah, and after going there a bit and becoming somewhat of a regular and sort of throwing a Hail Mary to the owner, I was able to book myself a gig there, and that gig led to the Gute where both of us met. And similarly to my experience in New York, it's like I kind of started from the ground up as well.
Because it was like a whole new start here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't work with that booking agent anymore with whom I worked for these tours. And it became a lot. And then the pandemic was like venues closed and everything changed. So it's been really starting from scratch again, which has been very hard. There's a lot of English speaking around. My German's pretty good. But it is so much about the people who you already know to get gigs. That's been the really big challenge. Or said another way, it takes time to build relationships, to meet the people with whom you really connect, who you like, and those are the positive relationships that lead to other things in the business world. And that's finally been happening for me over the last year, 6 months especially. I went through a bit of a personal change, which I ended up rewriting a song to be kind of about that, where I realized I was looking at the music thing, looking at playing music more from a business perspective than from I want to do this for myself perspective. Specifically like, well, I want to have a band that's going to cost money. If I can't get a gig with them that pays me this, then I can't do it. And I had that mentality a lot. I can't.
Many musicians have that paradox, more or less.
Yeah. And I had this opportunity to play a show out of town. And I said, no, I can't do it. And then, no, I can't do it again. And finally, I realized that I need to just break that cycle and say, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe I'm going to lose some money, which I don't really have to lose. But if I can find a way to do it, then I'll just book it and I'll just make it happen, because it's more important to me that I make it happen. It's more important to me that I actually do find musicians with whom I want to play and that we do play a gig.
Yeah.
And magically, basically, that process led to finding some people who I really enjoy playing music with, who also are not like, I'm charging you €1 million to do this job, because they also want to make the art.
Yeah.
And
it's more about the actual performing and actual love for music than the business side of it for most musicians that I met over the last years. So it's more about the music itself.
Which is for me, was a big overcoming of fear. I got trained in the New York City world of where, you
everything is business and tough and
but it's also people who are really, really, who spend a lot of money on music education.
Oh, okay.
And they want to become a professional at a high level, which many of my friends have done. And I think that instilled this idea of like, it's going to have to cost for it to be good.
Yeah.
And that's not untrue. But this decision to just fuck it and do it anyway has really opened doors. And from that moment, I've been actually really connecting to some people and having some cool opportunities come along to play for all kinds of weird things, play for an internet radio station that actually, pays the artists, or playing for the Day of the Open Monuments, Tag des offenen Denkmals, where it's like there's money involved. So I'm actually doing more different kinds of things, but being able to actually earn a little bit from it.
Yeah.
Because I said, you know what? I just need to do it anyway, even if the money doesn't come. And then the universe is kind of like, and here you go. Here's a little bit.
Okay, Cut. Laufen wir noch oder? Okay.
Machen wir weiter.
So no, this is like that's like the beauty in the music scene here. In my experiences, is like that most of the people, of course, they wanted to do it professionally and try to make money off of this and try to live off of that. But most of them have like normal jobs on the side to just provide for themselves, like pay their rent, pay for their equipment, for the instruments and stuff like that, and actually try to enjoy the music part more because of that, because they're not depending on it. I don't know how's your view on that?
I would say, since I've started what I would say at the beginning again of, I don't know, not having a community and slowly building it, most of the people who I've become friends with are people who are doing it maybe more on the, I don't want to say hobby, but doing it for fun because they love it, rather than really hammering away at trying to make a living from it. But that's evolving, and I am meeting. It's a mix. It's really a mix. I think for me the most fascinating thing about the Leipzig scene is, and I don't know how much this is a reactionary German thing, because Germany is a very rule-oriented culture.
Oh yes.
The grammar is the insane structure of the grammar. There's lots of rules to follow. You don't cross the street, even if there's no cars coming. If the little red sign says you don't cross, you don't cross.
Yeah.
There's lots of rules. But I think there are ways in which Germans kind of push back against that. And I felt like, and this has changed now, but when I first went to this open stage here in Leipzig at Die Villa, it was so weird. I'd never seen anything like it. The host, as you know, does like a little song and intro and says, here are the rules, and the stage is open. And it's a room full of like 70 people.
Yeah.
And he just goes, and the stage is open. And there's this sort of pause. And then somebody just gets up there. There was no list. There was no...
Now we have lists.
I know there's a list now. And I wonder
because
if
it's too popular.
I wonder if it's my fault. I wonder if I brought the list.
Nah.
But it was so weird and like organic and just... And like
for many years.
Who's up next? And it would just be someone would kind of just like muscle up there. Or like the person on stage would invite their friend to be next.
Exactly.
It was this super loose thing. I was like, that's so wild. And then like people would be playing along from the crowd, or like it was really loose. And that was so surprising to me. So surprising to me. I feel like that's prevalent here. There's lots of jam sessions, which are... every skill level is welcome, and it's just someone just starts making noise and people start making noise with them.
Yeah, basically.
And that'll go for like 4 hours in a bar.
Sometimes.
And I found that fascinating in a rule-based culture, that there's this like very free, very...
Well, and also you have to consider that Leipzig is a really international city right now.
True.
And it's not only Germans who do this, it's like from almost every country of the world are people in these groups and in these jams, and so you get like this beautiful mixture of all the different cultures, different instruments from different cultures, and different ways of making music together. Even especially in the jam sessions, like what I experience it's really beautiful, because you don't have this whole thing about like showing off or like presenting themselves, like, oh, this is my style, I have to do this. It's more like, hey, I'm doing something, do you want to join, do you want to participate, like, and it's beautiful when this type of people come together and just do it for the love of music, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's an organism. It's like a random organism that just sort of that has these incoming and outgoing pieces. It's very interesting, because from the New York thing, I mean, we had jams there too, but my world was much more like a TV program where it was scheduled and it was spotlight time for 10 minutes for one person, and then spotlight time for another person. And there's that too here.
Yeah, sure. We have similar concepts for that, but there are many different ways of going about that, and some venues have like their normal stage light 10 minutes thing or something, and others don't. So that's the beauty of it.
You know what I found weird here is it seems like there's a tough gap, or there's a almost a missing space, and maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, between these really like DIY venues where, I don't know, they're small, they do these jams, if you are playing a show there, you bring your own stuff, or it's not even a, you know what I mean? Like
Not
really
even a
loose
stage or something.
Yeah. And then it's like, and then the next step is like a big theater with, you know, like 1,000-person venue like Felsenkeller or something. And I know the smaller venues exist, but I'm so used to there being so many more of those, like places where it's easy for a band to go play, where drums are allowed, where there's a built-in sound system, where
actually a technician behind the sound.
There's a technician and 70 people fit in there. And that is different here. And also they book really far in advance.
Because you have to plan everything out.
Yes, everything's planned.
Yeah, but maybe it's because like also because of Corona, maybe because some good venues.
This water right into the microphone.
Yeah. It's gonna work.
This is quality content.
Yeah. No, but there are many venues.
Sprudelwasser?
Ich hab noch, danke.
Oh, du hast noch. Oh, schön. Okay. Dann nehme ich mich selber. Ich nehme meine eigene Sprudel.
Schön.
Mein lautes Wasser. Ey.
We're switching.
We are.
No, but like
in my house, es wird sprachlich.
Yo.
Anyway.
No, but I wanted to say is that we have the situation with Corona. Maybe there are some venues who are closed even before Corona who were really established in Leipzig. I try to remember, like the Four Rooms, for example, was one of those venues.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, because it's closed for a couple of years now. But this was one really nice venue for live bands. Like they actually had a good stage and good sound system and everything. And
wow, where was that?
Near the inner city, more up north Leipzig. I'm not sure anymore. I went a couple of times, but I always get out drunk, so I don't remember exactly where the location.
It was the greatest venue.
It was the greatest venue. And
schade.
Yeah, it's.
But that happens everywhere too.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not only because of Corona, because sometimes it's like in the neighborhood where people are complaining because it's still Germany and people complain about noises, and when it's after 10, you can do anything anymore, and. There's the law. There's the Nachtruhe.
Yeah. Evening, night quiet.
Night quiet. Sounds ridiculous, yeah. But basically, everything after 10 can be punishable by law. Like if you're too loud, it's at some regards, and it's stupid.
They're trying to keep you down, Lars. I'm trying to keep
to keep us all down. No, but we are way over our time.
This is too much fun.
My dear buddy. It's too much fun, right? I love this because every time we get to the end point, I want to continue, but I know will be too tough for people to actually keep going with this. So thank you so much for your little inside look about your life and your experiences.
Have I given an insight?
A little bit, I would say. Like a bit about your background, a little bit what you did in New York, a little bit what you did in Leipzig, a little bit why you're here.
That's true. That's all true. I'm happy to announce that there will be some band shows again.
Oh.
For my birthday.
Yeah, that would be my next question.
For my
What's
birthday.
happening next for your birthday?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a lot of these fun shows around. I'm producing a video project for a thing back in Colorado, which is taking a lot of my time. But yes, for me as a musician, I'm very excited to be playing Bright Silence Trio music. We only have a couple shows booked, but one of them is here at a secret location here in the west side of Leipzig on November 2nd. Really excited about it.
Okay.
I'll send you the details.
Oh,
I can't say anything more.
Can't say now, but
no. But it's going to be
now
cool.
I'm curious.
It's going to be cool though.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, Kevin, then only thing I can say is thank you so much. So much for
I'm
sharing.
so glad we could finally do this.
Yeah, it took a while.
And as I said, now every conversation that I do in my home will be filmed and recorded.
Yeah, perfect.
And I guess that means you're going to have to be there the whole time.
Can I get a room here? Is there still a
Well,
room?
this is sort of it. This is kind of the one. So,
No,
are
it's
you?
fine.
Do you spoon? Do you need to spoon, or are you?
I spoon. Always.
Okay, well then we'll talk about a rent share.
Yeah.
For you.
No, but anyway, thank you so much for this.
Yeah,
I
this was
enjoy this
great.
every time. This is why I do this, because I love to talk with my music friends about their stuff and their lives. It gives me something too, you know. And yeah, just thanks for that. And
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And thank you guys for still watching this.
And by the way, it's not called the Laughing Llama, even though he laughs a lot. And that I was very confused about that for a very long time.
Sometimes
It's lazy.
I'm the lazy one. That's why we don't go by algorithms or anything like that. It's just when I'm into somebody who I know they make cool stuff, I try to interview them, and you were my guy today. So perfect.
I'm the guy.
And yeah. See you next time. Enjoy the music and check out Bright Silence. You're on like
Check me out.
Instagram and
Yeah, it's true.
Spotify and all the other important contact stuff if people want to book you maybe at some point.
Yes, it's true. Used to be that if you Googled Bright Silence or The Bright Silence, you would find me immediately. Now there are some others out there who are sneaking in on my territory. But yeah, Bright Silence or thebrightsilence.com actually, although it is a very unmaintained website. Yeah, putting new music out there, hoping to do some German Christmas music. I've interpreted some winter music from Germany in my America. See, you doubt.
I doubt it.
You doubt.
It's not even good in German.
He's gonna love it. He's gonna love it.
Okay. Well, thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
We're out.
Danke euch. Tschüss.
Ciao, ciao.
Ihr seid ja immer noch da. Leute, ich hab zu tun. Guckt doch lieber mal, was hier so geht. Da kann man auch noch was Schönes sehen. Ist alles spannender, als mich bei der Arbeit zu beobachten, oder? Guckt einfach mal rein. Wir sehen uns.